Over the weekend, Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu launched illegal strikes against Iran. This war for regime change is both unconstitutional and dangerous. Now, we've already lost 6 service members in this war, and President Trump has said, quote, "We may have casualties. That often happens in war." Yesterday, in his briefing to the American people on why our sons and daughters are being sent to war, Trump highlighted the quality of the White House drapes that he had purchased and the gold ballroom that he is building.
See that nice drape? When that comes down right now, you see a very, very deep hole. But in about a year and a half from now, you're going to see a very, very beautiful building.
Giving us a sense of what's top of mind for him. Undersecretary Colby, both you and I have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Under the Constitution, who declares war, the president or Congress?
Congress declares war, if I understand correctly.
Thank you. You know, all 3 of my brothers served in the military, and this is personal for me. I am praying for the families who have already lost loved ones and for all of our troops that the president has put in harm's way without legal justification or moral justification. Donald Trump ran on lowering prices on day one and on a, quote, pro-peace ticket. He called himself the peace president, and of course he claims to put America first. So, Undersecretary Colby, do you think that America first means starting another war in the Middle East?
What's up, everybody? Major retired Richard Ojeda here, and a MAGA stooge got absolutely schooled on Capitol Hill when his entire Iran war justification collapsed under scrutiny from Elizabeth Warren. She asked him one simple question. Do you think America first means starting another war in the Middle East?
Well, Senator, I would just say that the administration does have a legal and moral justification, and I would certainly support the idea that President Trump is a president of peace. First of all, he has
Well, all I can say is, boy, the justification sure seems to be changing every 20 minutes. But could you answer the question I just asked you? And that is, do you think America first means starting another war in the Middle East?
I would say America first and peace through strength are served by rolling back, as the military campaign is designed to do, the threats posed by Iran's very large and growing missile and one-way attack drone program, its Navy, and of course ensuring that it doesn't have a nuclear weapon. And in fact, I think the evidence is, the proof of that is demonstrated by the global support for this initiative.
So you think America first means starting a war anywhere, anytime? You know, I'm confused because you're here to discuss the Trump administration's national defense strategy, and I'll quote it back to you. No longer will the department be distracted by interventionism, endless wars, regime change, and nation building. Close quote. Interventionism, that means going to another country and bombing them. Endless wars that may last, we don't know how long because there's no clear end point. Regime change, which the president has said this is all about, and nation building. Evidently, the president seems to think he's going to come in and build a different Iran. Now, is that
Senator,
putting America first?
That's why people are so alarmed right now, because the decisions being made by Donald Trump and his administration could drag the United States and the rest of the world into a nightmare scenario where millions of people pay the price. So when this Trump administration official tried to sell a MAGA song and dance under oath, Elizabeth Warren cut right through it.
Defense strategy does talk about the threat posed by Iran and the need to have credible military options, and I don't think this is, certainly as we understand from him and in the goals of the military campaign, this is certainly not nation building. This is not going to be endless, as the president.
So this is not, in your mind, interventionism?
I don't think this is, no, I don't think that's what that nation building, endless wars. That's definitely
That's
not.
actually the very first word in the Department of Defense.
Interventionism is a more, I would say, kind of responsibility to protect or something. It's obviously not
Really? And we didn't do
defined.
this in order to try to protect Israel?
I think that that's one of the goals. It's obviously we're serving our own interests.
Interventionism. And how about the endless war part?
Well, I don't think this is going to be an endless
Is there
war.
a clear goal that we will know when this is over?
Well, the president's going to decide exactly how we do it. The military campaigns have clearly
Okay,
defined
and the
scope
regime
goals.
change part, remind me about that. The president, of course, has called it regime change. Do you disagree with him?
No, I think the president has said that this is an opportunity for the people of Iran to rise up and overthrow their oppressors. But as he
has
indicated,
called
the
on them to
Venezuela
do
model
that.
could
Does
be
that
one the
sound
other
like
day.
regime change?
I think the goals of the military, obviously, allowing the Iranian people to take this matter into their own hands is one of the options here. But the American military campaign is got more
so that's
scoped
great.
goals,
So the
and
Trump
it's not an endless war.
administration first says it's going to be America first, then puts out a national defense strategy, and then goes to war alongside Israel illegally, unconstitutionally. And that is now the policy of the Trump administration. Say one thing in a campaign, write it down on paper, and then go do whatever the hell you want.
History has shown us exactly how this kind of thing plays out. And that's the part that the people pushing this war either don't understand or simply just don't care. Because the consequences don't end when the bombs stop falling. They actually begin there. But once again, Donald Trump stands there talking about how horrible these people are. He talks about them killing babies to somehow justify his crimes against humanity. What about ICE killing Americans? And once again, Donald Trump has literally committed us to another war. And this is not going to be some easy peasy war where it just happens over there and never touches us. That's not how this works, folks. It will make its way to our shores. That is an absolute fact. They're already planning to send your sons and daughters into harm's way. They're talking about the possibility of having to establish a draft. And if you think Barron Trump is going to be drafted, or any of Donald Trump's kids are going to be drafted, Ivanka, Eric, Don Jr., people who are all fighting age, you're kidding yourself. And what makes this even crazier is that 6 months ago, Donald Trump bombed Iran and told everybody that we completely annihilated their ability to ever produce a nuclear weapon. That's what he said. That's what he told the American people. So now here we are talking about war again because they might get a nuclear weapon? Well, which is it? Did you destroy their ability to build one 6 months ago, or did you lie? And the reality is when you start bombing countries, you create enemies. Donald Trump has bombed country after country. When you swoop in and start bombing places, hospitals, markets, civilian areas, people remember that. It might take 10 years. It might take 20 years. But eventually somebody is going to come looking for payback. We've seen this before. Back in 1990 and 1991, during Desert Storm, that situation angered Osama bin Laden. He was furious about the United States' presence in the region, and it took about 10 or 11 years before that anger turned into the attacks on September the 11th, 2001. That's how this works. Just because politicians stand up and declare victory when the bombs start falling doesn't mean the problem is over, because the families who lost their children are never going to forget that. And that's why this whole thing matters. Because instead of acknowledging what happened, instead of taking responsibility, the administration is standing there trying to blame someone else, claiming Iran somehow blew up its own school. And that's the runaround that Elizabeth Warren and the rest of us have had absolutely enough of. The truth is, the world is sick and tired of all this war. Everybody, everywhere wants peace. But instead of the leadership we should be getting from the United States, we're getting reckless warmongering that's making the planet more dangerous by the day. Everybody's worried now about their safety, rising prices of everything, losing health care, and the possibility of sliding into World War III and nuclear annihilation. And while these billionaires are claiming that it's a golden age of prosperity. Yeah. And while bombs are falling and headlines are screaming about Armageddon and Jesus coming back, it's also conveniently distracting from the scandal hanging over Donald Trump, the Epstein files, and the question that refuses to go away. Iranian leadership has called this for what it is, the Epstein administration, and this conflict, the Epstein war. And they refuse to back down to this administration that's ran by drunks and pedophiles. MAGA influencers are trying to hype this up as a holy war and spiritual warfare, but they are downright delusional. Because you can bomb half of the world, but that's not going to erase the fact that Donald Trump raped children. He's cavalier as hell about killing schoolgirls too. So if this is a holy war, what side does that put Donald Trump and his goons on? Something to think about when MAGA starts spewing nonsense about Armageddon. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.